Hello everyone, Sebastian Lucido here, and welcome to Headline and Prophecy. We're going to study the events in Afghanistan and how it pertains to prophetic events. If you have a deeper interest in understanding the subject, I taught the Ezekiel 38 war, which we're going to look at today on Saturday. You can go to our website, watchersoftruth.com, and you can watch the video and also download the notes, and you'll have all this information. I have to keep this to a blog size, a 10-minute or so blog, so I can't pack all of the information in it, but I want to give you a good enough overview about it. So Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1, it says, "Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog, the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and prophesy against them, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put a hook in your jaw, and lead you out with all your armies and horsemen, all splendored with clothing, great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords." Let's stop there. He mentions three names. He mentions Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. He calls them the Gog in the land of Magog. Well, Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal are grandkids or great-grandkids of Noah. So if you go back to the genealogy of Noah, I think it's in Genesis chapter 10, you'll see that Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal are some of his grandchildren, but we know where they've settled. There's a whole extensive study about where Noah's grandkids spread out through the earth and settled. Rosh is Russians. They were called Russians and then Russians. Meshach is where Moscow is. Muscovy. It went from Meshach to Muscovy to Moscow. Tubal is a city in Siberia where Gary Powers, our U-2 pilot, was shot down back in the 60s. And so this speaks of Russia. Verse 4 says, "I'll turn you around, put a hook in your jaw, and lead you out with your army." So Russia will reluctantly join this coalition we're going to look at that gets pulled down into the land of Israel to take it over. By the way, if you go to the notes and the teaching on Saturday, you'll see that chapter 37 is the reformation of Israel, which happened in 1948, and taking back of Jerusalem in 1967. So from 70 AD to 1948, Israel was not a nation. Ezekiel was written 500-600 years prior to the New Testament, even coming around the birth of Jesus. So it's quite an old prophecy. So now he gives us the coalition that comes with with Russia. So verse 5 says Persia, which is modern-day Iran, Ethiopia and Libya, which is northern Africa, which I believe is Ethiopia, Libya, and the Sudan, which is northern Africa, are with them with all of their shields and their helmets. Gomer and all of its troops, the house of Togarmah and the far north and all of the troops, and many people are with you. So Ethiopia and Libya are in northern Africa. Gomer is some of the old Soviet states, like Azerbaijan. Togarmah is Turkey, and the many people with you, I believe. So when you look at the map, when you look at the lineup, it's Russia, Iran, Turkey, several northern Africa nations that are Islamic in nature, several Soviet states, which are also Islamic in nature, Togarmah, which is Turkey, which is moving rapidly toward being aligned with Iran, and then many people with you. And I believe that that's Pakistan and Afghanistan. When you look at a map, Afghanistan has Iran, and it has Pakistan, and it has China on its borders. And so by us losing this section of territory and not having the intelligence capabilities that are there, not having the Bagram Air Force Base, which was there, we really abandoned this part of the world So there's three things I think that happened. One is we've emboldened Islam. We've emboldened them in many different ways. Not just Islam. I'm talking about fundamentalists, those that would want to eradicate everyone that isn't Islamic. Which is a fraction of all of Islam. But what we've done is we've emboldened them. We've given them $85 billion worth of our arsenal, which is filtering into Pakistan and Iran. Things fell apart in Afghanistan as I'm broadcasting this. It's fluid, so this may be outdated by noon today, right? But what we see is that we've emboldened this part of the world. The United States, has lost a lot of credibility with our allies. We've lost a lot of credibility with the moderate Islamic states, such as Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the whole Saudi Peninsula. And therefore, and now we see that Afghanistan is going to become a cesspool of jihadists and others that come in. When you look at it, the Taliban wanted to establish a country, and it lasted 2 minutes, right? They let 10,000 Al-Qaeda and ISIS fighters out of prison, and so they've taken over, and so there's chaos there. At some point, Iran, Russia, and Pakistan, who have a big vested interest there, may come together and sort of bring a solidarity. You have to understand, Afghanistan will never become a great nation. There's too many factions, too many warlords. But from a prophetic standpoint, what it did was it diminished the U.S. From the region. Our drones that are making these strikes, supposed strikes, are taking 6 and 8 hours to get there from the Saudi Peninsula. So we lost an air base there. We gave it up. We walked away from it. So we don't have a centralized command there. We don't have the intelligence network that we had there to see what was going on by spoofing phones and other things that we were doing. We should have kept a force in country. But here's the prophetic piece of it. We've probably escalated the Iranian, Russian, Turkish, Ezekiel 38 war, because if I'm them, I want to do this on the Biden-Harris watch, because we don't have a resolve in this administration. They're not hawkish, and we don't have a resolve to fight and gain casualties. It was the same under Obama. He drew a red line in the sand and told Syria, if you use chemical weapons, we're going to come against you. They used chemical weapons, and we did nothing. You can see that this is messed up. Our guys are trapped there. Who knows if they're going to come out or not. But from a biblical prophecy standpoint, because that's what we're talking about today, Afghanistan solidifies this event being moved up sooner. This event, this Ezekiel 38 event, is liable to happen in the next 2 or 3 years, or certainly in this decade. We gave them arms, and so this coalition comes against Israel. Those that, if you read on in Ezekiel 38 or listen to our teaching, you'll see that Sheba and Dedan, which is the Saudi Peninsula, which is United Arab Emirates, Oman, Bahrain, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all form a coalition to help Israel because they have a vested interest against Iran. Iran hates them as much as they hate us and Israel. And so in us, the language is the merchants of Tarshish, which is a Spanish port, but it's an English port. It's where England got its goods and services on the European continent and all of her young lines. So England and her young lines, which is Canada, New Zealand, Australia, United States, Scotland, Wales, we fight with the Saudi Peninsula and Israel against this group, and we prevail against them. We destroy them. And it opens the door for the Jews to build a temple because all of the radical Islamic states will be neutralized. 5/6 of their populations will be destroyed. We're going to see this war. You're going to be alive to see this war. So the second thing that this did prophetically is that our allies, the NATO forces and some of the Asian allies and some of the Middle Eastern allies are somewhat uncomfortable with the United States in that they always counted on us to lead and to be the big stick, right? And so we evacuated Afghanistan without telling them. We left their citizens in a terrible spot. And so they're all recalculating, what should we do? Every 4 years, the U.S. elects a different president, and we're dealing with a separate set of dynamics. Under Trump, he came in and he did a great job. He renegotiated those 20 or 30-year-old agreements, which weren't a part of the establishment. Biden comes in and he's looking at casualties. He doesn't want nobody does, but war is essential in strength. These people you can't negotiate with them. He tried to negotiate with them. They only understand strength. And so the second thing is Antichrist will come from a platform of 10 nations. So I would imagine the European Union has the GDP and budget capability to build our exact military. They have the capability to do that combined. And so I'm sure that nations, whether it be Asia or the Middle East or Europe or a combination, are going to start building coalitions or alliances to protect each other because they may not be able to count on the United States. We've already heard them scuttle of this. And then the last thing I think that this does is it breeds lawlessness. We're going to start to see, unfortunately, more terrorist attacks. We're going to see, a launching pad for terrorism. I mean, this is where they executed the plans that took down our towers. That's why we went there anyway. That's gone. There's more of them now. They're very much more sophisticated, as we are, but they're more resolved in their fighting. The guy that we're dealing with the Taliban, was locked up in our prison. And so what do you see here? You see that Afghanistan was the first domino in what I call the new alignment, because what it's done is it's now given Russia and China, frankly, the ability to use this alliance to their benefit. Both of them want to eradicate or get rid of Israel. If Israel's out of the way, the Middle East can be owned by one of these superpowers and all of the goods and services that are there. Naturally, we know God is going to stand for Israel, and we're going to stand ultimately for Israel, even if our president doesn't have the resolve. I believe we'll be pushed into protecting Israel. And so if you would, I invite you, please, it's an hour, go watch our teaching on Saturday about the Ezekiel 38 war. It's right on our teaching page. If you go to watchersoftruth.com, go to our teaching page, print the notes, and then you can watch the teaching. It'll give you in-depth understanding of the normalization agreements and some of the other things that I couldn't touch in today's blog. But understand, Afghanistan was a key element in moving this forward because Pakistan and Iran are both going to come into this war. They're on each side. So we had our CIA able to do over-the-horizon surveillance in both countries. We were able to get surrogates and SEAL teams, and even Israel was able to launch attacks in Iran through Afghanistan because of our intelligence apparatus and military apparatus. Bagram was a great hub, but we had several airfields all around the country. We gave them all up. We gave up all the CIA offices. We gave up, our hold on the nation. It's unfortunate. I completely disagree with it, but here's the cards we're holding today. Again, and let me just say one more time, please go to our website and join us, watchersoftruth.com. That's watchersoftruth.com. Sign up, become a free member, get access to all of our curriculums and workbooks and proprietary information. We have a blog that gets around censorship every Friday, but it's emailed. It can't be placed on social media. There are other things on our website. It's all free. And I encourage you to connect with us and pray for our nation, and pray that, Father, for peace in Afghanistan. I mean, the women there were sent back 2 centuries. I mean, they're going to be slaves to the Taliban, and it's a shame. I mean, many Christians are going to be killed there. They're already doing it. They've lied through this whole thing. I don't think our administration was very truthful in anything they told us. They botched this thing up. Nobody's been fired yet. It's a terrible thing, but unfortunately, that's where we're at. So that's our headline and prophecy for today, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.